Hey, Jimbo, you ready for this deal?
Turn him out.
Old stories like long lost friends, rodeos and late night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, cowboys of the Osage. Old stories like long lost friends, rodeos and late night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, cowboys of the Osage. Old stories like long lost friends, rodeos and late night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast, brought to you by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum, Buck and Flamingo Turquoise Shop, and Saucy Calf, traditional Native American food, all located right here in historic downtown Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Hey, it's old Cody over here, and as always, I have my main man with me, Mr. Rodeo Historian himself, Jimbo Snively. Morning, Jimbo. Who do we have?
Hey, Cody boy, it's another great day in Osage, man. And Cody, we've got Tanner Brantley with us today. Tanner's living here in Pawhuska now, and he's a 3 times BRI, which is Bull Riders Incorporated Finals Bullfighter. He was a 2017 BRI Bullfighter of the Year. He was a 2 times BFO Bullfighters Only Vegas Finals qualifier. He's a 2 times PRCA Prairie Circuit Finals. He does a lot of PRCA rodeos now as a bullfighter, and he's got a big event coming up here in Pawhuska before too long, out there at his grandfather's namesake, the Clarence Brantley Arena in Pawhuska. And we're going to get into all that. I'm sure he's got some good, scary bullfighting stories.
I imagine.
But anyway, Tanner, welcome to the Cowboys Osage podcast.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
We're glad to have you. Where'd you grow up at, Tanner?
I grew up down in Beggs, Oklahoma, a little small town about half an hour south of Tulsa.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, did you grow up in a rodeo family, or what did you do?
Somewhat. It was definitely a combination of that with school sports and whatnot. My dad, he was a bull rider. My grandpa on my mom's side was a rodeo clown and bullfighter himself. Her uncle and dad, they had a rodeo company, the Rice Rodeo Company out of Beggs. And but they definitely they knew the dangers and everything, all the risks involved with rodeo, and I think they did their part to try to keep me and my sister away from it.
Yeah.
Keeping us involved with school sports, and
discourage you a little bit.
Didn't work out too well on their part. But
didn't work. Well,
it's easy to get too busy and get too many irons in the fire with those school sports. So
yeah,
I can see how the rodeo could have got overlooked. They didn't have time to mess with it, probably.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. We kept them busy year round.
Yeah, I know. My girls, holy moly, they're doing basketball, roping. I don't even know what the heck all they're doing.
Well, they cleaned up at their horse show last night, it looked like.
Oh, yeah, we had a big night at the horse show, Jimbo.
What are you going to do with all those trophies?
Couple grand champions. I don't know. It's the only second horse show I've ever been to. I went to the same one last year here at the county horse show. So,
Well, so what did you do sports in school?
Growing up, I did basketball, baseball, football. Baseball was definitely my first love, and then I stayed with it from T-ball all the way through high school and kind of threw my arm out, kind of too much pitching as a teenager. And football was a big love of mine, and then I ended up just running cross country and track the rest of my high school years, and then for a year in college as well.
Did you ride any bulls when you were a kid?
I got on a few of them, and I think Dad had it his best interest, or my best interest, to keep me out of that stuff. And the last one I got on was one of his, and I was his first bull rider trip, and he was my last bull, and he ended up making it on tour. Gene Owens ended up hauling him to some of the PBR Cups for a little while. And so my bull riding career didn't last
He was your
very
last
long.
bull to ride?
Yes, sir.
Me and Cody goes, tell him our theory on bulls, Cody.
once they get too big to rope, we eat them.
That's right.
It's not a bad policy.
Did you grow up going to the cavalcade, though?
Yes, sir. Every year. Shoot, I haven't missed a perf at that rodeo since I was probably 5 years old. Dad always judged the rough stock, and of course, Grandma and Grandpa lived up here, so it was always a place to stay. And there was probably a good time in my early teenage years. Cavalcade was the only rodeo I went to all year. So
No kidding.
if it wasn't for Cavalcade, I probably wouldn't be involved with rodeo now and making a living at it.
Jimbo, do you got any history on that cavalcade?
Oh, Cody, I think it started, what was it, 46 or something like that?
47, I believe.
47 was the first year, and it's the largest amateur rodeo in the world. You know?
Yeah, a girl that's in the National Cowgirl
Right.
Hall of Fame, an old bronc rider lady, Alice Adams started it up, I guess.
Right.
That's from the research I've done.
Yeah, it's a big deal in Pawhuska and has been for all those years.
I heard that the first one was actually over by Turley one time, the very first cavalcade.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Yeah.
And they moved it to where it's at down, Pawhuska.
Well, what do you think about when you think about that cavalcade?
I think about tradition, and naturally, it being the world's largest amateur rodeo, it's not the most competitive rodeo, you'd say, but it's more of bragging rights and whatnot. But really, a family tradition is what I think of the most. My mom tells stories about being a little girl riding in a chuck wagon when they trail ride all the way up here, her and her sister, and then her bigger sisters be riding. And I even got pictures of my grandpa on my mom's side of Papa, Gene, him riding his bull that he had trained to ride with the saddle in the grand entry, and he clowned. And we got a big blanket from him fighting bulls here for 10 years back in the day himself.
What do you mean I know what the cavalcade is, but for everybody that don't know what the cavalcade is, explain what you mean by world's largest amateur rodeo.
Oh, per their rules, they strictly enforce where, for the contestant side of things, they don't allow anybody to enter that's a professional rodeo cowboy. As far as PRCA and IPRA, UPRA, pretty much any association that has the word professional in it and you have a card in that association, you're not allowed to enter.
And you don't really enter as an individual, do you?
Oh,
They have individual sports, but you're entered
Right.
as a...
Kind of similar to the, I'd go with college rodeos, how they have a point system and stuff like that. They have these teams of roundup clubs from all over northeast Oklahoma, and they're judged not just on how well their contestants do, but their parade attendance, their campgrounds, and what have you, and all that stuff.
I know, them campgrounds are pretty wild over there. There's more people camped out at the cavalcade than lives in Pawhuska every year.
Right.
Ain't that crazy?
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Do they still ride their horses to the cavalcade, those teams, some of them?
I believe there was a group still came up from, I want to say,
Caney,
New York.
Kansas, and I think maybe a group from down by Stroud somewhere.
Yeah, I was
Drum
gonna
Right.
say something. Yeah, Drum Right. That was it. That's the farthest one I think now. Used to be I think Neoka, but now they've just even been branching out farther. And better than me. Third week of July. I don't know if I want to be on a horse all day long for 3 days straight, just trail riding up here along the highway.
You said your grandpa was a rodeo, and he was a rodeo clown at that rodeo?
Yes, sir.
What was some of his acts that he would do?
I'm not sure which ones they got to do here. I do know he had a clown car act, which I actually have that car here at the shop, able to do a wheelie. And I know he had several other acts. I think he had a trained mule. My mom said he had a pet monkey, but I don't know if that was included in the acts. That just might have been one of his things he had at the house. Never know with him.
I knew an old rodeo clown one time. He got to collecting exotic animals. Now he's in major exotic animal business. He had monkeys, lions, all kind of stuff. And now And now, if you've ever been to State Fair and watched a pig race, he's the guy that invented it. He sends pig races to Hawaii and everywhere else. His name's Joe Hedrick up in Nickerson, Kansas. He's an old rodeo clown, but he has camel rides.
Yeah.
One time I was in an ostrich race that he put on, just like a horse race, for Japanese television, Jimbo.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a pretty wild deal.
I love it.
So what did your parents think when you told them you were going to get into the bullfighting and all that?
They didn't probably do it to my face, but I'm sure there was some eye rolling, like, okay, we'll see how long this lasts, which growing up, I was always more of the book smart kind of kid and stayed on with rodeo, I kind of got more involved with the production side of things. I put on my first bull riding before I ever fought one, and the day I showed up with bullfighting gear, everybody kind of had a big laugh about it, kind of just thought you were too smart for that kind of stuff. Of course, I showed them.
Yeah. How do you break into something like that? I mean, ropers, they start out breakaway roping and little milk pen calves and things. How do you break into bullfighting?
Well, before I stepped into a pen out just on my own, I looked up some bullfighting schools, and which there's all kinds of guys around here, but I just kind of wanted to get rid of the nerves. I went out to seek somebody out that I didn't know, and I went to a Sankey Rodeo School at Ark City, Kansas at Mount Williams Place, and Lyle Sankey, he coaches all the bull riders, and Lucas Littles, who's from Missouri, was the bullfighters coach, and we watched a lot of film. We took notes just on the basics and stuff like that, and then we have a bull dummy, which is more or less a unicycle with wheels and a roping head, and chase each other around with it and kind of go over some drills, and then after that, it's trial by fire.
Oh, Lyle Sankey, he knows his stuff, though, don't he? We did a podcast with Lyle one time,
you bet.
didn't we?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
A really cool situation for me a couple years ago. I actually got to go back to one of his schools and coach it myself. So from the first school I ever got to go to, I got to return and be one of the instructors. It was a pretty cool full circle moment for me.
I guess you started out fighting bulls to help the bull riders, or did you start out in that freestyle stuff?
I started out just doing the protection, helping the bull riders, which I've been going to those for a couple of years. I never got paid to work back pins for those 2 years until after I started fighting bulls, just showing up with Dad and needing something to do. And they, of course, always needed extra help back there. And I was already buddies with all those bull riders. I was looking for something to do on my own, and I knew riding wasn't going to be it. And like I said, I've always looked up to those bullfighters. I used to wear out that VHS tape American Bullfighter out during the summer when I was a kid, which I still have it. But for the first 2 years, I did mostly all I did was protection. Then the bullfighters only stuff really started taking off, and it kind of caught my interest. And I kind of got surrounded by some more hungry guys wanting to better themselves, and let that rub off onto me, and wanted to got a little ambitious and reached out. And I went to Rob Smets and Miles Hare freestyle bullfighting school and down in South Texas, and it went a lot better than I expected it to. And after that, I kind of never turned back.
Which do you like to do best?
Protection.
Why is that?
It's a lot less hazardous.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also guaranteed pay. That always helps.
Well, yeah, I can see that.
I saw where Rob and Miles, they got another school coming up here real soon.
Really?
Yep. Do you know I used to want to be a rodeo clown?
I know it.
My dad cured me of it.
That's never too late, Cody.
Well, if I didn't have to get in and actually, like, someone got hung up and I'd have to jump in there and help or something, I mean, that's the only thing stopping me probably. But, yeah, my dad cured me of it. We had these Scottish Highlander bulls that he was roping at the time. He just found them cheap and was practicing roping on them. And we had an arena at the house that was just about as big as this arena here in Pawhuska, 300 by 400, some crazy big, but it was real near the Arkansas River. And the sand would get about this deep in the summertime. Right. And he put me right out in the middle of there with my old clown barrel and turned the Scottish Highlander bull.
Where'd you get a clown? Where'd the kid get a clown barrel?
Buddy Heaton. You know, I told you Buddy Heaton used to live with us. That's ongoing.
He left his barrel with you.
Well, he got me a clown barrel. And
he wanted you to mount something, didn't he?
Yeah. And well, anyway, he turned that Scottish Highlander bull out, and I'll be damned, it cured me of all my wanting to be a rodeo clown bullfighter, Jimbo. It cured me. Went straight to roping that day.
Yeah. I had a little Highlander practice steer that was a good practice steer, and I tied him many a time.
Did he ever get mean on you?
No, not at all.
Well, he was a steer. These were bulls.
Yeah, right.
These were bulls and these were some mean bulls.
And he was pretty young too, you know.
They'd be pretty mean. You didn't want one to get up when you were tying one down.
Yeah.
He'd run back up the rope at you.
How do you stay in shape and how do you practice bull protection?
I try to always hit the gym at least 3 or 4 times a week. A lot of cardio work, and really there's a pretty fine balance, especially when you're in the middle of the season, when you're going hard at it. It's a combination of trying to train and get better, but also let your body recover and heal at the same time.
Right.
Training wise, I mean, we watch film, we do practice pins and stuff like that as well.
You ever been to a place where the bullfighter got hurt? And what do you do? Did the pickup men just take over in case something happens, or?
Like if I was just there watching, or?
Oh, no. If you're at the rodeo and both the bullfighters got hurt.
I hadn't been anything where both guys got hurt. I've been there where the other guy got hurt pretty bad, and I worked by myself for a couple bulls, and then it was a big bull riding up in Kansas, and there was a kid, hey, I just started fighting bulls. Do you mind if I step out and help you out? I was like, sure, just don't get yourself hurt, because I didn't really know what to expect, and he did okay. He was there with me and didn't leave me by myself, that's for sure. It's always comforting, so if one gets you down, you got somebody to pull him back up.
That's how it all started, Cody. The early rodeos, they didn't have clowns per se. They just be somebody, another bronc rider, another bull rider would stand out in the arena, you know, and help them, you know, do what they need to do. That's really basically how it all started.
Sure. And I've been that guy myself too. There's times we went to the bar in Oklahoma City, that Cowboys OKC, where they're bucking bulls in the nightclub, and
that used to be in cahoots back when I was young.
Oh, it's still going, and they had one of the guys, he no-showed him, something like that, and they have it broke down into 3 sections, and I was just watching, which I'd already been there for a little while, and the bullfighter, he was by himself, and he was kind of having trouble, so I caught him afterwards, and I hadn't been fighting bulls very long, and I just let him know I've been fighting for a little while, and I came with some buddies that I can borrow one of their bull riding vests, and then another one he fights bulls and rides bulls himself, so he had an extra pair of cleats in his car, and lo and behold, he let me step out there and work with him, and like I said, I'd already been there for a couple hours, so I had a little bit of encouragement flowing through me pretty good, and I hadn't been fighting bulls very long, and that was probably the best I'd fought at that time, but I do not recommend doing that, but it was definitely a fun experience.
If I've got one complaint about the bullfighters today, it just seemed like it's too serious, too much business. And when I was a kid, when the bull wanted to fight a little bit, right in the middle of the bull riding, they'd mess with him a little bit, you know, and roll the barrel at him and all that. Now they can't get him out of the pen quick enough.
Some of that has to do with kind of who you're working for too. There's some contractors that I work for, and if we're out there playing with the bull or wanting to make them fight, they'll get mad at you, which is a lot of that. With them born to buck programs and them high dollar bulls, they don't want to risk them getting hurt any more than they already are with bucking. And then some old school contractors, they want you to go out there and fight, and that's when we have a lot of fun, of course.
Yeah, that's when it's fun as a fan to watch it, you know. And now, like I say, it just seems like they rush them out of the arena, they open that gate, and the bull knows where to go, and that's it.
Yes, sir. Like I said, a lot of that has to do with who you're working for.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of guys that take the word rodeo clown real personal nowadays. What's up with that?
Well,
I'm old school, man. They're all rodeo clowns, including the bullfighters.
To me, that's an insult to the old timers that were called clowns, that paved the way for the new guys, you know. But now they think they're too good to be called clowns. To me, that's not demeaning. But how do you feel about it?
Give and take. Sometimes I'll be like, well, I just kind of roll my eyes about it. The other times, I'll just play into it. Depends. If it's a little kid or something, I'll mess with them and I'm a clown or something like that, which I do wear the polka dots, the baggies, the makeup. I try to give my tribute to the old school look and all that as well.
That's great, because a lot of these guys, they
don't even wear makeup. They're going the Wick Path route.
I know. It's just different. I don't know.
How'd you pick your makeup scheme?
Just kind of sampled off of a few different guys. I mean, I watched a lot of those old Wrangler bullfights tapes because that took a few years whenever I started going a lot, and I needed to get my own look that I wanted to have for myself, and just kind of sampled off a few different guys, things I liked, and finally landed on something.
I liked old Rick Chapman, the Bumblebee. He was always one of my favorites. Michael Horton, the Smurf. He was always one of my favorites. Miles Hare. I think Miles Hare was my favorite for some reason. I don't even know why. And
old cocky.
As far as rodeo clowns, Quell Dobbs, number one.
Right.
Number one in my book.
There used to be, back in the day, early rodeo, a lot of those clowns, I don't know why, but a lot of them were bulldoggers, or a few of them were bulldoggers. And they'd get in the bulldog and in their clown outfit.
Really?
Yeah, Wilbur Plotter was one. I've seen him bulldog in his clown outfit. At the rodeo.
Do you know we got a rodeo clown? The first rodeo clown, the first NFR. It's from Osage County.
I did not know that.
Yep. Buck LeGrand.
Okay. I didn't know he lived up here.
Yeah, he's from Ponca City area, but on the Osage side. And we had a suit back there that he wore at the first National Finals rodeo on display.
That was really cool.
Yeah. Yep. And heck, they put him in the Cowboy Hall of Fame here just a few years ago in Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might have been the first clown to ever get put in.
That's really cool.
He was a bullfighter too, but Buck LeGrand Jr. said he preferred rodeo clown. So.
Right. Also, a lot of people might not know, but you've heard the Turtle Association, which was the forerunner of the RCA. Mm-hmm. And the number one turtle pin was a clown, Jimmy Nesbitt, from right over here at Nowata. And he wanted that number one pin, and he'd bulldog too, but he's best known for his clown act.
There was a bullfighter got put in the Cheyenne Frontier Days Hall of Fame with my dad the other day. Old Daryl Diefenbach, an Australian dude.
Yep.
He must have been a tough old guy. He looked like he's pretty banged up nowadays.
Oh man,
Them Aussies are a different breed themselves, and they are tough.
Yeah, they are. I heard a joke one time. What month do Australians drink the least amount of beer?
I don't know.
February has the least amount of days, Jimbo.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I believe every bit of that.
So do you still do any of the freestyle stuff?
On occasion. I've been to a handful this year, which I said this is my first year strictly making a living off of fighting bulls, and there was a little stretch in my schedule where I didn't have many rodeos booked and knew I needed to make some money, so I went on a little run in Nebraska and Kansas and that area in late July, early August, and went to 5 freestyles in 12 days. And I picked up 3 checks. For the last one I entered, I ended up winning out of Emporia, Kansas.
That's the one your belt buckle you're showing us?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It was a pretty cool moment from that. The very first freestyle I ever won was at that same event.
Wow.
And that was back in 2018.
Tell the folks that might not know what a freestyle bullfighting is.
Yes, sir. So freestyle bullfighting is kind of a combination, I'd say, between like the matadors with their bullfights, the Spanish bullfights, except we don't have any weapons. We don't have any capes, anything like that. And then it's kind of like bull riding. They judge us and the animal, where the bull is given 50% of the score and we're given 50%. They judge the bull off of how aggressive and mean he is on trying to hook me, and they judge me on how aggressive I am as far as keeping the animal engaged and staying in control at the same time, and not just running for my life, but making rounds with them and throwing fakes, this and that. And you can get extra points for doing tricks if you want to get down on a knee and throw a fake, or if you want to jump over one. Or there's also the old school stuff with the barrel, like you said. There's always ways to acquire extra points.
Right. And you drew the bull, I guess, just like a...
Yes, sir. Some of them you draw the bull, some of them you just draw position. Those fighting bulls are so mean. They, especially in the back pins too, they just try to open all the gates and let them find their way up there. So they'll just let you draw position and you draw whatever bull runs in at that time.
So a lot of times they mostly use the littler Spanish fighting bulls?
Yes, sir, for the most part. There's not a whole lot of freestyles anymore with those old school crossbred bulls, which I ain't complaining too much. I've been to a handful of them. I've been pitched as far as high as the ceiling by them, especially whenever I was pretty early on in my freestyle career. But those Mexican fighting bulls, they typically stay a little more honest, a little bit longer, and they're faster, and typically are a little bit meaner as well, and more fighter friendly for you to put on a good show for the crowd.
Right.
Back in when I was a kid, we used to have a rodeo in our hometown, and Harry Bold would bring the stock, Jimbo. And one time they had Wrangler bullfights at this rodeo, and he brought the famous bull Cricket Nose to the house, and Purple People Eater. They were both sitting there right at the house, and when they'd go in there and feed them, heck, they'd pet on them. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Those bulls were not mean to the guys working for Harry down there in the back pens. But turn the page a little bit. We got the roping steers at Odessa when I'm a little older and I'm roping. And Harry Bold has that rodeo, and he had a bunch of Mexican fighting bulls down there. And I was back there helping him sort around and stuff. Not with the Mexican fighting bulls. But one of them got their head through a panel, couldn't get it out. And Harry was like, get in there and get that bull's head out of that panel. I said, you get down there, Harry.
Yeah, your bull.
Yeah, it's your bull.
That's right.
But anyway.
Speaking of them little Mexican bulls, the 101 went down to Mexico one time and putting on a big show, and that was when Bill Pickett was. He wasn't the biggest guy in the world, but he supposedly invented bulldogging, you know, and they turned out one of those bulls, and he supposedly bulldogged it somehow, and it was an insult to the crowd, and they barely got out of there. They went to throwing stuff at him and everything else for him doing that to their bull.
You know, the crowd, they're very knowledgeable on the bulls down there, especially on like their matador fights, Jimbo. Mm-hmm. One time I was messing around in Tijuana, me and my cousin, having a big old time, and the bullfights were going on downtown Tijuana, and we're like, let's go. We've never been to one of those before. And anyway, when it came time for the end of it, you know, when the matador has his sword behind his cape and everything, actually they got that sword wrapped up in their cape, and that's how they're holding it up. And then when it comes time for him, he got him finally worn out, and he got his sword up like this. Well, he punctured a lung and started bleeding out of his nose, and I guess that wasn't a clean kill, and the crowd booed him for not a clean kill on that bull. And it was crazy. Right when they kill those bulls, Jimbo, a team of mules would come in the ring, and they'd hook a team of mules to it, drag him right out, and literally right out the back gate there was a butcher shop. They'd string him up, butcher him, and then put him in a box truck, hanging up immediately. Within 5 minutes, that bull was hanging up in that box truck, skinned and ready to eat.
Right.
It was just real interesting.
Huh. Wow. Did you ever get wiped out at one of those
Couple times. There's been a few of those along the way, to say the least. I've had bruised ribs on both sides. There was one summer, it seemed as soon as one side healed up, I'd hurt the other.
Yeah.
I've blown my knee out a couple times, had knee surgeries back in 2021, had a few staples in my head, had a little shaving scar here from getting kicked by one, had a few stitches there, had some stitches in my nose. That was at the Ardmore bullfights. And it's I've even been taken to the hospital because of too much mud in my eyes, where they had to use 12 liters of saline just to get them cleaned out from, and that was all from them. Most of all that was all from them bullfights.
Yeah. I saw something on YouTube the other day of a bull rope come loose and the cowbell come around and hit the bullfight. I mean, just knocked him cold in a wedge.
Mm-hmm. So they're trying to make a big push for things like that to change. A good buddy of mine, Dayton Spiel from South Dakota, he had to quit fighting bulls because he got blinded in an eye from that exact same thing happening, almost lost his eye. And of course, he got twin girls at home too, so he kind of had to grow up like I hadn't yet, and had to kind of hang it up there. There's another guy up there in that area invented, it's called Leica bell, and it's shaped like a cowbell, but it's rubber, and it's got a little bit of weight to it to make sure it still serves the same purpose, and that way, if one does do that again, it won't be as damaging. Which those things, they can cause problems. I've seen plenty of guys almost get knocked out, or I've been hitting the shin by them. I know how much that hurts. And I was probably from me to you once. A buddy of mine, he got all his front teeth knocked out by one and fractured the whole roof of his mouth just from a cowbell. Rope got tangled up in bull's legs, and when he kicked out, it just hit him like a whip.
Tell the people why they have the cowbell on there.
Cowbell's, the purpose for that is to get the rope to fall off the bull. So that way it's not being dragged off in the back with them, anything like that.
Right.
Boy, it'd sure be crazy to go to a bull ride and not hear a cowbell ringing when they.
I know, that's just
when
part
they're
of
out
the
there
bull
bucking.
ride. Yeah, but the rubber one does it still make a noise? Or
no, sir.
It's just the weight.
All it is
say
is
that
just
rubber one would hurt pretty bad too if it's heavy enough to drag.
I finally got to see a couple of them in person. They're not as heavy as you'd think what they look like, but they're heavy enough to serve the purpose at least.
I bet they would hurt your head if you got whacked in the head by one of them too.
Well, then
for sure.
Policemen, they shoot you with rubber bullets, and that gets people's attention, I guess.
So, you got an event coming up.
Yes, sir.
What is the event you got coming up? And here in a minute after he gets done telling you, Jimbo, don't let us forget. I got to tell you about this. Isn't the first event he put on, and I sponsored his very first one. So I have to tell you.
I saw on YouTube something with him in 2015 when Channel 6 came up and did a little story.
Yes, sir.
And Tess Monty, which she was just getting started then, And you had a bull there in the pen. You were standing there with Tess, and you had your hand on the bull, and she was trying to throw it back to the studio, but she just kept cutting her eyes at that bull.
We almost had to tell her to be careful. She was almost onto him too much because he was a pet. He was a bucking bull too, but he was a pet in the back pens and anywhere.
Right.
But we were almost nervous with her because she's pretty gung ho. She's a country girl and she's not scared. But we kind of had to tell her hey, we don't trust him 100%. So that's when she started kind of keeping a side eye on him.
Right. It was just funny the way she's cutting her eyes at that bull.
Yes, sir. But so this year, November 23rd, putting on the first annual Brantley Cattle Battle Invitational. It'll be a Bull Riders Incorporated sanctioned bull riding and bull team event. And as also part of the show, I'll have the freestyle bullfights coming in as well. And it'll be sanctioned by the Ultimate Bullfighters, which they're based out of Fort Worth, and they'll have their world finals going on at the same time as the NFR, but they're in Fort Worth. And it's some of the
They have
best
their
freestyle
finals in Fort Worth. They don't have it in Vegas anymore. I thought they were having it out there.
That's the Bullfighters only that has theirs out there.
Oh, I got you.
Yes, sir. That's kind of two competing organizations, but they're both the best bullfighters in the world are the ones going to both of those events.
Yes, sir.
And there's some guys that go to both as well, just make a living off of freestyle bullfight now, as crazy as it is to believe. But it's the world we live in now. It's pretty awesome.
So November 23rd.
Yes, sir. We'll also have a mini bull riding going on during the day, have all the kiddos come out, getting on instead of getting on sheep and calves and steers, they get on full-grown mini bulls and going from the walk trot age group to the 16 and under. Then I'll also have the top kids from each age group coming out for the nighttime show. We'll have Sophie Duke. She's a professional trick rider. She's a family friend of mine, but she's got her PRCA card, only 18 years old, and burning up the road all over the country doing her acts, and she'll be here. Mark Evans will be my rodeo clown, and he's won the IFR showcase his first year he started clowning. She's also a PRCA music or a sound tech of the year, which I guess music director. That's the word I'm looking for. But we'll have pyro, spotlights, dark house for the intros, all that stuff, and definitely plan on making a big show out of this.
And that's November 23rd. It starts during the day with the mini bull riding with the youngsters, and then
yes, sir. And
through the day and to the night
yes, sir. The
it's
mini,
bigger and better.
The kids deal will go on from 10 to around 2, and then that evening the show will start at 7. Doors will open at 6. $10 admission for the general admission seating along the sides of the arena will be $10, and I got bleachers coming in where we cut the arena off for $15.
Where the heck can you go? Family friendly, exciting.
You can't buy a hamburger for that anymore.
You can't go to McDonald's for $10.
No.
Well, I'd love to have a packed house and make a little bit less money instead of having just a handful of people come out.
And this isn't your first event you put on, is it?
No, sir. Like you mentioned, or we mentioned earlier, I put on my first one before I started fighting, and I put on one on in Beggs for 3 years, and then one on here in Pawhuska for 2, overlapping those last 2 years of Beggs. And like you mentioned, you were one of my big sponsors for that event back then. I'll let you go ahead and take over for this story.
Jimbo, when we were here at the pawn shop, and there was a guy heard about his bull riding there that night, and what kind of event were you having? I forget what it was.
So then to sell the show after, we put on a Ring of Fear where there'd be basically just anybody over 18 can sign up, sign a waiver, and they'll go stand out in a big ring, and we'll let out a fighting bull, and the last man standing in there wins $100.
Jimbo, this wasn't a little Mexican fighting bull. This is one of them big 2,000-pound, high horn, big white booger with red spots.
Right.
They named him Shock
He
Top.
could stand flat-footed and look over the fence.
I still remember.
This is a bucking bull that later got sold as a fighting bull.
He's a mean sucker. He's a mean sucker. Well, anyway, I was here at the pawn shop. And
right here, too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was right here in the museum at the time. The pawn shop was. And John Whedon, buddy of mine, through the pawn shop, we'd done a lot of business, heard about this Ring of Fire and decided he wanted to get entered in the Ring of Fear, looking for a sponsor. And I was thinking, oh, my Lord, I'd love to sponsor John in the Ring of Fear. So
I think I saw this on Facebook.
We got a whole jumpsuit for him. And he changed his name from John to Bullseye. His name was Bullseye.
That's an awful name to be going into a bull.
He had a cape on.
It was fitting.
He had a cape on, full jumpsuit, and a helmet with stars on it and stuff.
Right.
He looked the part.
Right.
He looked like Super Dave
Osborne.
Didn't y'all have Garnett Bell bonds or something written out on the cape too?
Yeah, that's back when we were in the bell bonds business too, and the Cape said Lauren Garnett bail bonds. Well, anyway, Jimbo, there's only 2 people entered it. John Bullseye and the bullfighter that he hired for the deal. So that's only 2. They're standing in their circles. And right before they turned the bull out, John pulled a...
Oh, I stopped him from doing that.
He had something on his head and he pulled it over and closed his eyes. He was a little bit inebriated, a little bit. And
he tried doing that when we walked out there. I didn't know if he'd do it after I left him.
Yeah, he did. And holy moly, they turned old Shock Top out. He took a line for John, and I don't think he was even wearing a jacket, one of those vests, Jimbo.
I think he would have cleared this room in the air.
I don't think he was even wearing one of them Bull Riders vests. And old Shock Top hooked him in the stomach, chest area, and threw him as high as the ceiling in here or higher. And he came down, and it took John a good 3-4 minutes to get his breath after that. I saw him turn blue. I thought he died. I thought I sat there and saw a guy die. And,
his face matched this color with my shirt.
Wow.
And, you
when
know,
I ran up.
at the end of the bull ride, you know, everyone usually claps and in a good mood, and there's music playing, and everyone's talking about how a good deal it was. It was just silence. Everyone just walked out.
Like, we just killed somebody.
They just thought they saw someone die. And
before that, I was really proud of that event.
well, anyway, yeah, before that,
It went south though, didn't it?
that was the membership drive for the BRI that year. We bucked 67 head of bulls in 2.5 hours. We had a lot done that day.
and almost killed a kid.
And then finished that off with it. Yeah. What my favorite part of this deal is, remember, like you said, you sponsored him for that. When he went flying, that helmet probably hit the ceiling, if I'm not mistaken.
Did. When that bull hooked him, that ceiling, the helmet shot off of him like a bullet, Jimbo, like it came out of a cannon. Is the dangerous thing you ever
we
saw.
all go running out there to keep the bull away, and then look, they were pretty quick on the outgate, and the bull left pretty quick. But I remember standing over him, and it is raining business cards for the bail bonds and the pawn shop. Like, I guarantee y'all had 100 business cards crammed in this helmet. And I was just like, are you kidding me?
You knew that helmet was going to come flying off, didn't you?
And we had a protection match going on there, so I had about 20 bullfighters of this still, and that story gets still brought up today anywhere. A lot of places I go from guys that were at that or knew somebody here. That gets talked about often.
It was his proudest moment. The newspaper came and done a big article on him afterwards, and he just loved it. I think television station even did something on him. Lauren has that video. I'll try to get it shared to you so we can get it on the podcast page.
That'd be good promotion for this next event.
Craziest part about that is he messaged me on Facebook seeing if I was bringing the event back, and he wanted to do that again.
Yeah.
Boy.
Didn't y'all have like a little dedicated spot for him on the wall at the pawn shop? I remember coming in once and had his helmet and his cape up in the picture.
We did. We had a whole little shrine to him because it was so crazy and so wild. I mean, I've done some crazy and wild stuff, but this is
Right.
And
one of the most crazy and wild things I've ever witnessed, and I was right in the middle of it with him, Jimbo.
I'd say you definitely got your publicity out of that too, because that was back 2015 or 16 before stuff really went viral as easy as they do now. And between my mom's video she put up and the Bail Bonds Facebook video and the pawn shop's Facebook video, I think in less than a week we had 25 to 30,000 views.
Yeah,
And
I remember seeing it.
that was before reels and all that kind of stuff was really a thing. So it meant something if it got that viral, that many views on it.
You put it back up, it might go viral again.
Yeah, I will put it back up for everyone to see as long as I can find it. Tanner, I think, probably still has it on his phone. So
Now people are going to be blowing me up thinking we're doing that for this bull run. We're not doing that again. That was
you're
the
not
last
doing no Ring of Fear. That's our tradition here for your events, Tanner.
That's too dangerous. That's too much liability. We used that same bull that same summer in Beggs at my bull riding down there later that year, and
This bull was big, Jimbo.
he
High-headed.
he about hurt one of my good buddies. So he kind of did, but he got retired from the Ring of Fear, and I'm done with you doing the Ring of Fear after that.
Was that your practice fighting bull?
No, that's David Weston's bull that
You didn't want
come
nothing
over
to do
there.
with him either.
I had to work him several times with bull riders getting on him. That was as much as I want to deal with him. And I remember not seeing him for a while, and then I went to Emporia, Kansas, where I won this bull fight. And this is the year before I entered it the first time, just hanging out. And that bull was in the freestyle bullfighting there. And the guy that drew him, Noah Krebs, who's one of the top bullfighters in the world, he worked the Denver Stock Show this year. That bull got him down. he was a bad dude, which no way, he's one of the best bullfighters in the country as well. So it meant something to bull like that, getting him down. And it was a
Yeah,
pretty
you could
fun
just
ordeal.
tell he didn't want to mess with this dude. He's bad dude.
He didn't have a sense of humor, did he?
No, he didn't.
Of course, like you mentioned with old Crooked Nose and them, David, I've seen videos of him petting on that bull at feeding time.
Yeah.
Woo.
Do they still do the bull poker, or what they call that?
Yes, sir.
Cowboy
There's a
poker?
few of them still do that.
Now they've got them in these big bubbles too.
Yeah.
That looks kind of stupid.
That thing's
really.
crazy. That's how high you've seen him hit those bubbles.
Right.
That's how
Yeah.
high John went.
I don't know if you've seen that.
Bullseye, not a bubble.
I was at Stanford when, I don't know if y'all seen that picture of that woman up there every bit of 30 foot in the air.
I thought it was fake.
That was real.
Oh, okay.
And that video was from up the hill too. Or not video, that picture is from up the hill. So it's a lot higher than it looks in that picture. And I was just looking up, I was like, oh, she's dead. But then she lands, bounces up, she gets right back up, which their competition there is who can get the biggest hit without popping your bubble. And I don't know, I wouldn't do it. I'd get in the ring of fear before I did that, but I'm not really about those games anymore.
What about this deal they call the shark cage or whatever they put in the middle of the arena? And I guess that's like your VIP ticket, best seat in the house. You can go sit in the this cage in the middle of the arena.
There's an event.
You ever seen one of those?
Where I'm going.
Attack like a shark? Does the shark
Not
cage
so
down
much there, which that's kind of the bullfighter's job and the pickup man to keep them away from those. But those things, a lot of the times, they're anchored in the ground where they'll dig a hole in the ground and set it in, and then the dirt comes back in and holds it in place. So I've found out the hard way in those bullfights that those things don't move. We were in the bullfights in Deadwood, South Dakota, and war fighting bulls had the bulls there, and they were hot. And I made the short round, and this sucker did trip me up and then had me pushed and lined out. And I was just trying to gather my feet while he's still bumping me, and I look up, and we're about from here, about 10 feet away from the shark cage, and I just do all I can to just get up, and he did just smash me right into it, and that was one of those summers I kept bruising my ribs on. No matter which side healed up, the other side would get banged up, and those things don't move or not fun.
Cody, did you ever see the NFR video of the bull bucking? And he bucked by this barrel, and there was a guy in the barrel, and his hind leg goes down in the barrel with the guy. It hurt him too. I mean, it was a bad looking wreck.
Oh yeah, I've seen that happen a couple times.
Have you? Wow. You said thought you were getting too old for the freelance stuff.
Freestyle.
You're just 31.
Yeah, that's a young man's game. There's kids going out there now that are like 16, 17 years old. Their parents having to sign waivers for them, but they're entered up and competing against the best guys in the world.
That would have been you, Cody, if they'd had that back then.
Okay.
Your dad, Rocky, and your mom could have signed that, and you got out there. And
I could have.
I'm sure they would have done it.
I definitely could have. I'd have been real good, like a human ball for him just to roll around in the.
So that's what I felt like a few times. But
you've heard of practice bull, you'd be the practice dummy.
Yeah.
There's times I've entered up bullfights where the promoter's like, "Oh heck yeah, you can come. You'll either do good or you'll sell tickets getting hugged. We know how I'll go with you here. Whatever pays the bills, I guess."
How do you go about getting your professional card as a bullfighter in the PRCA?
So now you have to, its rules have changed throughout the years several times, but you'll have to get a hold of the PRCA office, and you have to make a deposit. You have to have signatures from bullfighters or barrelmen that have worked the NFR or been to the Wrangler bullfights, and then also a bull rider that's rode at the NFR. And those are kind of your references. After that, you send them your 5 rodeos, which obviously would be just open rodeos, amateur rodeos, bull ridings, and they will send somebody to come evaluate you and not tell you which one they're coming to. After that, you'll get an email saying you've been approved or denied. After you've been approved, you got to pay more money, and you have a year to work 5 PRCA rodeos. At those 5 PRCA rodeos, you'll be evaluated by either the clown or the bullfighter you're working with, something like that, and they'll evaluate you at every rodeo that you're working that year to get your card approved. And then once you got your card approved, your should be good. Of course, now this year they made a rule change where you can actually lose your card if there's a certain amount of complaints, like 3 complaints from bull riders, which they have to fill out a form. It has to be something official, but to discredit you having your PRCA card, and they'll have to watch videos and all that kind of stuff to make sure the complaint is valid. If you have 3 complaints, you can just lose your card like that. That being said, I think it's a good thing. It's kind of a quality control issue because there's been a lot of guys that held onto their cards and just worked a handful of rodeos a year when there was a lot of good bull riders, those that were risking getting hurt, and those guys were kind of just comfortable and not, you wouldn't say really doing their jobs like they should have been, and kind of a little bit past their prime. And now it'll open up spots for young, hungry guys.
How do you balance the staying in position to save a rider if it needs to be, and staying out of the way and not making the bull turn or do something that throws the rider off?
It's a balancing act, that's for sure. For me, it's always, I wouldn't say it came natural, but it was easy for me to read them bulls because I've always been handling bulls on foot. Like I said, we started raising bucking bulls when I was 10, and Dad would be on the four-wheeler, I'd be on foot, and if we were having to push them around or anything like that. But it's definitely a touch and go. You never want to move while they're looking at you. There's times you can kind of tell if they are locked in on you, and then you need to get out of the way while the rider's on them. And there's been times there's some of them old school contractors just don't want you anywhere near them, stuff like that. I've had one, I'm not going to say his name, but I've almost been fired for almost messing a bull up, and that was the day we kind of got into it. I told him, it sounds like I'm doing my job then, if I'm that close and not messing him up then. But he was just having a bad day, and I got. And
there's sometimes when they want you to make a bull turn or something.
Yes,
too,
sir.
Right?
Not so much anymore. You will find that some of them open rodeos or junior bull ridings where it's bulls that are lower caliber, but it helps them, and it helps the kids too learn how to ride them caliber bulls. But anymore with them born to buck programs, it's I mean, it's almost, I wouldn't say it's caught up with horse racing, but they're doing their dangest to do it. It's crazy. You see these calves jumping 4 or 5 foot in the air.
Yeah, they put that deal on their back.
Yes, sir, the buck and dummy.
Heifer, and doing the heifers too, because they want to use them for breeding.
It's kind of like with horses and stuff like that. If the cow bucks and I want to have a calf out of it.
Right.
And they'll just buck them when they're young, which there's kind of a lot of risk with that too. They can always risk crippling one or something like that, because especially when they're young.
Yeah. What was the best save you ever made?
There's been a handful throughout the years. They all kind of have their own challenges and stuff. Probably my favorite one looking back too is the Prairie Circuit Finals last year. It was the first performance of it. They bucked a bull, bucked out of the rights, and I was behind the gate, so I have to wait on the gate to clear for me to come in. The kid bucked off really quick and got hung up. And it was right there at the chute, and the bull doesn't even finish a round, and he starts taking off. The guy running the out gate didn't know that the bull rider was hung up. So he couldn't see him hanging on, and the rider's on my side. So that kind of makes it hard for me to get in there to work that hang up. And we were kind of coming to a last second situation where I just bailed off or kind of went for it. And there's a really cool picture this lady caught, kind of looked like Superman with my baggies and stuff, looks like a cape, and I'm flying over him. And I mean, right before we get to the gate, I caught the tail of the rope and we were able to pop it out of there. Of course, the bull, about the time the bull got there, the gate ended up getting closed again, and he took off, and all made it out safe. But it was a pretty fun moment, just given that it was at the circuit finals and all that. It was pretty exciting.
Do the bull riders ever come up to you and thank you for something you did?
Yes, sir. There's quite a few of them. They'll thank us, even sometimes if nothing really happened, they just thank us for being there.
Special, they still.
Yes, sir. Of course, we always appreciate it, but I mean, that's not why we do it. But.
Sure. I know, but it feels good to know that,
absolutely.
You're appreciated.
Yeah. Rob told us that
the
only thing that he ever got given to him was this old bag of DeWalt tools.
Yeah, DeWalt was a sponsor. They had.
Yeah, well, the guy already won like 10 bags of them. And
right. Gave him a.
Rob saved his life one time, and he gave him a bag of tools, and he said that's really the only thing he ever got.
I mean, I ain't had that. I wouldn't mind it. I've had a few beers bought for me, but that's about it.
Well, that's what Rob said. He said they'd buy me a beer, but then the next week they'd be bumming one off me.
Yeah. That's how it goes.
Oh, boy.
How do you go about getting the jobs with these stock contractors?
Well, a lot of it has to do with networking amongst other bullfighters, in my opinion. It's from my experience, it's always been that way. There's not a rodeo I have that I can't credit another bullfighter for connecting me with that contractor or calling me like, hey, you want to fill in for me at this rodeo, or you want to work this rodeo with me, and you show up, you do your job, which a lot of them contractors, you're doing more than just fighting bulls at them. They've got you working untying calves or working a neck rope during the bronc ride, and they want you to help feed and sort and all that stuff. And some of them, they don't make you work. Some of them they do. It always seems like the cheapest ones that work you the hardest, but it's just how it goes. But for me, it's just always been just showing up and doing my job and staying out of the way if I need to be out of the way. But then this year, a lot of those contractors, they brought me on full time, and working all their rodeos, and then lucky for me, they just kind of happen to stack up along where I'll have a rodeo almost every weekend this year.
Do you, a lot of kids idolize you, I feel like.
That's a pretty cool feeling, to say the least, which I used to be one of those kids too.
Yeah, I see a lot of these clowns. Some of them nowadays, they're in bullfighters, they're drinking and smoking and everything with their uniform on, it just makes me wonder, and cussing.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes me wonder if these guys realize that, that most of these kids here at the rodeo, you're probably the coolest guy there, in their opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something I try to always stay away from, at least while I got my jersey on and everything, while they can still recognize me. We'll go hang out back at the trailer or something like that. But while you're there, you are those kids' hero. There's one kid, he's actually going to come here to Pawhuska and fight the Junior Bulls. He's came and watched me at 4 different rodeos in Arkansas and Missouri this year, and his parents, they're awesome people, and they reached out and made sure to let me know he was coming to watch for his birthday and all that kind of stuff, and got to keep in touch. And they send me videos of him working sheep riding, and he's dressed out with his baggies and his button up and his makeup. Of course, he's got his makeup looking like Cody Webster, and I'll try not to judge him for that. But and of course, he got to meet Webb at the Sykeston Rodeo, and made sure and told him that me and him are his 2 favorite bullfighters. So I got to get a laugh out of that, especially when they told him that I was the favorite. That's a pretty cool feeling, a humbling feeling, to say the least, to know that there's a lot more going on than just you picking up a paycheck and doing your job.
It's a pretty big responsibility, I have to say.
Yes, sir.
I would think.
If you were making a Mount Rushmore of bullfighters, who would you put on it?
Oh, man, that's a tough one there.
4 names.
Yeah, you need 4.
4? Well, you can't leave Frank Newsom off of there. Probably Rob Smets and that group of guys that all really paved the way for all of us with those early years in the bullfights. It'd be pretty hard to deny Webb out of that spot too, just because, he's been...
Ronnie and Donnie Sparks.
Ronnie and Donnie, they're great.
Bob Romer, the bull dancer, he was a good one too.
My top 4 would probably have to be Rob, Frank, Leon, and Webb. Just because, Webb's going to have... by the time Webb's done, I'm going to have to say he's got to have the most prestigious resume that you can find. He worked the IFR twice before he was 18, got his pro card at 18. He might have been 18 his last year working the IFR, and then was working the NFR by the time he was 20, and hadn't missed a year since. And now he's a 3 or 4-time PRCA Bullfighter of the Year. And then those PBR World Finals, I lost track of those. But
most people don't know that Leon Coffey was a bullfighter, in his younger days. And I'm going to tell you what, he was a bullfighting son of a gun. He was my favorite, I think, on the bullfight. I got a lot of favorites, but Leon Coffey was definitely my favorite.
Yeah, he's
He'd
the
dance.
coolest.
Yeah.
He danced in front of the bulls, and then he'd do the splits in front of the bulls.
He would just make it look so easy and effortless, which he was just such a great athlete on top of that. And then had the comedy as well. And for that era, he was, I think, the best at what he did.
I used to like old Ted Kimsey, too. He was grouchy, though. He was one of them clowns that you went and found him, after the deal. You'd go over to his camper and be like, Ted, can I get an autograph picture or whatever, and he'd be back there smoking a cigarette. Get out of here, kid. I don't know. He was grouchy old bastard. But
You're not the first I've heard say that.
But I loved his clown car act. Quell Dobbs, to me, those are the guys.
Yeah.
Those are the guys. I love those old guys like that, Jimbo. No doubt about it.
Oh, yeah, they were classics. I kind of miss that part of it.
And with them being around in those early days of the bullfights, if it really weren't for those pioneers, we really wouldn't be where we're at. Like I said, there's guys literally making a living just freestyle bullfighting, not having to work rodeos and all that stuff. They're paying entry fees and winning big money. There's all that interest in it. And those are the guys that started it all.
Right.
And then,
What are these guys I've been seeing? They dive over bulls.
yeah.
Bull divers. I don't know. There's a deal like in Spain or something.
Oh, yeah.
But I think they've been, there's a guy going around doing it here in the United States, during
Manu?
rodeos like an act.
Yep, Manu. He is actually, he's not Spanish. I think he's French Canadian.
Okay.
And I got to work a couple of events with him. He's a really, really great guy, real nice and humble. And yeah, he'll tie his knees together with the rope and then have this thing where he stuffs both feet inside of it. And he'll just stand there, and they'll send typically a younger, fresh Mexican bull, something that's not going to just throw his head up or turn around as soon as he does it, because he's got to jump him a few times to sell the show. And he'll just stand there. I'm legs literally tied together and call for him. They'll send him and he'll just hop and then tuck his feet out, and then he'll untie it, kind of address the crowd. And they'll send him right back to him, and he'll go out there and do a full flip and somersault over the top of him. It's an awesome show. I was so happy for him. They actually got to have him out at the NFR a couple of years and do his trick.
Is anybody walking across any bulls' backs anymore? They get them, the barrel work going, then they get their head down, and then they jump. You ever seen it?
Now and then, if you get the right opportunity. I've attempted it. I've just got one foot on him and then fell down, and luckily the other bullfighter was able to keep his attention away from me. It's definitely a tricky deal to do that one. Got to have the bull stand still and all that. That's
an old school move. Old Smurf, he used to get them mad and stand in front of the barrel, and they'd hook him in the barrel at the same time and shoot him up over the barrel.
Yep.
And that was his finishing act.
I
used to hate it after they get done, I don't know, was it 50, 60, 70 seconds? And then they had it was up to the clown if they wanted to go another 20 seconds or something.
Yep.
I used to hate it when they wouldn't go that extra 20 seconds, Jimbo.
And now back then, I think it was 40 seconds mandatory, and then you had another 30 seconds optional, and you could finish it off in 5, or you can finish it off at that full 30. Nowadays, most of them are just call it at a minute, which it kind of saves the show a little bit of time, and I mean, just average out to a full minute's easier to sell to your crowd. But on top of that, them bulls, by the time 50, 60 seconds comes around, they're pretty worn down and tired and start getting sour on you and just standing there waiting on you to come to them. And now it's 40 seconds mandatory and 20 optional.
Okay.
And that barrel hop, those can go really well and they can go really not well. The best I've ever done on one of those was the first time I ever tried it, and I'm just going to say I got lucky. There's been times I went up and hopped on the barrel and they'd bump it with their horn and then run around the other side waiting on me. And that was get a little Western pretty quick.
You told me the other day you were fighting bulls barefooted.
I did.
What's up with that?
We were in Forest City, Arkansas last weekend, and I got to say
that's a good place to do it barefoot in Arkansas.
Yeah, he fit in with the rest of the crowd.
They all fit right in with everybody there. I had more teeth, unfortunately, but we had, I think they got like 4 or 5 inches of rain the night before the first night of the rodeo, and it was so soupy. I was just working the rodeo in like a rain slick suit and muck boots during the bronc riding and tie down and all that stuff. Then when the bulls came around, I just took that suit off and I had my shirt and my shorts and my cleats, and mud was so soupy enough I was getting around fine then. Well, the next day the sun came out, but there was standing water still on top of the mud. So all it did was just dry it up enough to make it really sticky. You're still finding the bottom of it. It just took a while to get there. And I was working back pins and my feet got so stuck I got kicked over by calves and then beat up by just a group of roping calves. I was pretty mad about that. But by the time the bull riding came around, I was gassed and I just said, I'm not even fighting this mud anymore. I'm going barefoot. And sure enough, actually, I found the bottom of it really quick. That was the best footing I had all week.
Barefoot in Arkansas.
And we love Arkansas. We got a lot of fans over there.
This is the other side
They're
of
some of
Arkansas.
my favorite people.
My son lives in Arkansas.
Yeah. And
Fortunately,
I
this
worked
is
with
the
a guy
other-
in Arkansas for 35 years, and he's great. One of my best friends.
Fortunately, this is the other side of Arkansas where it was just crop fields and stuff, so it wasn't all rocky.
Yeah.
So got along all right.
Yeah.
So if that bull stepped on your foot or
That
bull
would
rider
hurt.
came down,
Yeah.
spur on your foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked out.
Well,
But you got to do it. I've heard of them doing it that barefooted when it gets muddy.
I bet.
That's just wild, man.
Yeah, dude.
Well, heck, you got anything else for Tanner?
What's it mean coming back here to the Clarence Brantley Arena? What does that mean to you?
It means a lot. You know, that arena was Grandpa's baby. He was in office starting the year I was born, and he was still in office when I was 16 when he passed. And they were almost done with the whole thing. And that week that he passed, all the commissioners, they unanimously decided to name it after him, which, from my understanding, the county was in the red whenever he took over. And by the time he was done, they were able to pay for that thing in cash because he'd saved so much money back for the county.
Right.
And anytime I've had the opportunity to work it, there's been a Bronx and Bulls event come through there. And I mean, it wasn't, half of what I usually get paid, but I'm happy to do it. It's 3 miles from my house now anyway. So might as well. And any opportunity I get to work in that event or that.
Yeah.
Building.
What a great venue for Osage County, Cody. I mean, it's just going to get bigger and bigger, I think, but it's really been a great
Yes, sir.
For this area.
I'm really looking forward to what this event that I'm putting on can do for it, bringing in a lot of people with the bullfights and the bull riding, the junior bulls. And then I mentioned to a handful of people, we've got a replay screen coming in. I've got the Cowboy Channel approval. So we'll get to really showcase what Osage County has to offer.
The Cowboy Channel.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Speaking of the Cowboy Challenge, he's an actor,
Oh,
stuntman.
yeah.
How'd you get in the acting business and stuntman business?
Pure luck is what I'm going to call it right now. It's the year that they filmed Killers of the Flower Moon here in Pawhuska. They started filming a month after I had my first knee surgery. So I wasn't working, I wasn't rodeoing, and I was getting by on short-term disability from work, so I was needing a little bit extra money, and I just kind of signed up, like free meals, $100 a day, why not? Maybe a little story to tell one day. And lo and behold, by the end of the filming, I spent maybe 30 days on set, either as an extra or a stand-in, and got to meet some really cool people there, and a lot of the workers involved with the set and the livestock coordinators and all them, they'd hang out at the Dry Hollow Bar and kind of get to do a lot of networking there, you'd call it. And by the end of the whole deal, the assistant director, he kind of took a liking to me, which I wouldn't really get all bug-eyed when DiCaprio or De Niro walked around like some of them other kids would. And I just did what he told me to and went on about my day. And he went out of his way and got me a part written into it. I didn't get to say a line, but he had me in a few scenes that were distinctly like you would notice me. And since watching, I've seen me like 8 times in there playing 4 different parts, but there's probably 5 or 6 you can see my face in it. And after that, I was able to become a member of the Screen Actors Guild. And with the contacts I made with the stunt coordinators and the livestock coordinators, I got to stay a little bit more involved. We had bulls in the background for Tulsa King. Also supplied a stunt bull for 1,000 Tomorrows. That was a Christian-based show about a bull rider and barrel racer deal, and got to fight bulls in that as a stunt man. And I've managed to book some other stuff, but it's been that movie industry is a pretty hard one. You never get excited till you're there and you're signed in that day is what I can say. But just to be involved with it as much as I have up to this point, it's been more than I've ever dreamed of, and it's definitely caught my interest in trying to pursue a career out of it one day when I'm done fighting bulls.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Sure.
Holy moly. Did you get to know any of those stars?
Oh,
Did you
we
meet any of them?
got to meet a couple. Probably my favorite one was Sturgill Simpson.
Oh, yeah. We had him here in the museum a couple times.
Heck yeah. He was a really good guy. I actually was his stand-in on set.
I sold him a buffalo coat.
I believe.
Yeah.
I could see him doing that. He'd hang out there at the Dry Hollow Bar, and he was the kind of guy, he'd close the bar down and then take the trash out for the girls. And then one of the other actors, he was staying in an apartment here in Pawhuska, and Sturgill, he'd just walk over to his apartment and stay with him instead of driving back to Tulsa where they had him put up at.
Was that Ty Mitchell?
Yep, that old Ty.
Yeah.
What about Leo? Did you get a chance to meet him?
No, I never really talked to him. Never.
We heard that you weren't even allowed to make eye contact with some of those guys on the set. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was trying to stay in character on and off camera. From my understanding. Just like I said about Sturgill, he even went to the BOK Center with us and watched the PBR, and we're pretty excited. He's playing over in Rogers, Arkansas in a few weeks, and a group of us are going to go watch him too.
Nice.
Hopefully we'll get a chance to just say hi again or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Really just happy to see him back on the road.
Oh, yeah. He's a pretty good singer. Well, heck, this has been a good one, Jimbo.
Yeah, it has. And I hope everybody comes out November 23rd and fills that place up.
Yep.
It'll be a great show.
What about a dwarf bull riding? I was going to say midgets, but that's
not politically correct.
That's not politically correct. Can we get some of these mini bulls? Can we get a couple little guys?
If you find them, we can try to make something happen. I'd leave.
Well, I can find all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe we can. We'll look into that.
We'll make
those
that
little Bramer bulls, those little miniature Bramer bulls.
The little Zebus.
We can make that part of the show for the second annual Brantley Cattle Battle. I'll give you some time. Have a wild ride with them or something like that.
Okay. Well,
have you got any short people here in Pawhuska you got in mind to ride one?
I know a couple, but they wouldn't technically be dwarfs.
If you want to get technical, no, but untechnical, maybe. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about, Jimbo.
Well,
just talking trash here.
Well, you're a promoter, though. You'll come up with something, I bet.
Well, heck, everyone get over here to Pawhuska. 23rd of November, come Tanner's big bull riding, bullfighting, freestyle. You got the mini bulls. You got it all. If you're a fan of bulls, bullfighters, and bull riding, it's going to be a heck of a weekend to be here.
Yes, sir.
Any big name bull riders going to be here that you know of?
We hadn't had the call on yet, but I'm expecting some pretty good names. We've got.
I heard JB Mooney's coming. That's just what I heard.
Yeah, the rumor.
Don't get that started.
I heard JB Mooney might be coming out of retirement. Maybe.
Yeah.
He may or may not be. I'm not sure.
Bad to the bone.
That's right. That's right. All right, everyone, get over here to the museum. Come check it out. We're streaming the Buck and Flamingo live turquoise jewelry sale every Sunday night. It's going right on the Cowboys of the Osage Facebook page and the museum Facebook page. And if you're wondering why we're doing that, that's how we pay for everything. That's how we pay for the museum. That's how we pay for the podcast. That's how we pay for it all. That's the reason we're streaming it on there. And
Cowboys like jewelry too, or their wives do.
yeah, everyone likes a good piece of jewelry.
Right.
Well, we'll see y'all next week.
Later.
Thank y'all for having me.
No problem. Thanks for coming, Tanner.